Hello guys, welcome back to our anime explainer. Guys, please like the video and subscribe to my channel. Today is explanation of Swallowed Star original continent based on novel. So let's start. On board his boat of Mausoleum, Luo Feng entered the internal region of Universe Boat, persevering through numerous terrifying, dangerous domains. Although he was not afraid, he exercised vigilance and kept himself obscured, so that he could grab hold of the opportunity, when the great beings from Purple Moon Holy Land unintentionally made a careless move. The moment he discovered one, he would make use of Star Tower to capture that great being right away, mercilessly. This way, not only could he teach those from Purple Moon Holy Land a good lesson, but he could also seize their true treasures. It was a good idea. The only problem was, even after he had spent close to 900 years traveling to finally reach the domain where the space of the Cyan's secret chamber was, there was not a single time along the way when he discovered any great being from Purple Moon Holy Land. Purple Moon Holy Land is very careful and vigilant. It has been such a long journey, yet not once have I encountered anyone. Seems like the universe masters inside the universe boat have all hidden themselves with care. Luo Feng could not help lamenting as he shook his head. After all, the universe boat was extremely broad, and he had been advancing at a high rate of speed to look around. If his opponent was moving about ostentatiously, he might have discovered them somehow. But if his opponent was cautiously hiding from him, there was no way he could find them anywhere. Looking ahead into the vast space, he had already arrived at the domain where the space of the Cyan token's secret chamber was. The small, greenish-black ship shot ahead very quickly. For being able to arrive within a time of close to 900 years, much credit was due to the boat of Mausoleum. With it, Luo Feng traversed many dangerous lands by charging his way through with brute force. Even supreme true treasures that could resist a certain amount of danger would be burdened by terrifying environments. Yet the boat of Mausoleum was very stable, which was why Luo Feng could solely depend on it. Along the way, Luo Feng had specially sought lands that were birthplaces of treasures, and was lucky enough to obtain some ordinary pinnacle true treasures, 2 top-tier true treasures, and a senior true treasure. Once, during a conversation, Primal Chaos City leader had told Luo Feng, the boat of Mausoleum cannot be shaken. Within the 3 most dangerous lands, 90% of the terrifying dangers had no effect on it. Only the core region is likely able to stop it in its path. Solely relying on this boat of Mausoleum to search for treasures, your efficiency rate will be higher than any other great being. Riding boat of Mausoleum to roam the 3 most dangerous lands, I will be able to seek out and obtain many true treasures. How wonderful! Luo Feng was inside his boat of Mausoleum, looking far into the distance at the numerous buildings suspended on huge leaves. He drew nearer to try to feel the place out. After I obtain the treasures from Jie Fanzi's legacy, I will roam the 3 most dangerous lands. Roaming the 3 most dangerous lands only required a trace of his consciousness. He mainly focused his spiritual energy on cultivation. After 2 days, Luo Feng found the secret chamber within the space of the Cyan token that belonged to him. This is the one. The little, greenish-black boat reduced speed and slowly descended on a huge leaf. The cabin doors opened. Luo Feng walked out and raised his head to look at the building before him. The secret chamber of the Black Token and the secret chamber of the Cyan Token are both so lacking in aesthetics. With a wave, Luo Feng put away the boat of Mausoleum. Then he slowly walked toward the ancient building. The moment his body touched it, he felt as though he had touched the surface of water. He penetrated right through to enter the internal space of the secret chamber. Luo Feng appeared in mid-air and looked ahead. Amidst the void space, there were 9 huge, blazing fireballs, each bigger than any ordinary star by 1,000 times. These 9 fireballs were suspended high within the void space, and they were moving in a circular motion. In the middle of the area they encircled was a suspended continent. Luo Feng stood within the void space. With a move of his mind, all 10 wings on his back spread wide, and a blurry, golden light radiated outward. In an instant, the entire space was enshrouded, and everything within it fell under his control. Just one look, and Luo Feng's expression revealed his surprise. With one step forward, he teleported himself over to the continent. The expanse of the landform was vast. He stood on a deserted land of sandstones and looked up toward the sky, where he could see light rays produced by the 9 blazing fireballs being projected onto the land. They intertwined to form a picture scroll containing characters that were made up of fire snakes. The scroll was densely covered with a mass of characters that Luo Feng was not familiar with, yet every character contained ripples that transmitted information, so Luo Feng had no trouble understanding the text. I, Jie Fanzi, am a special life form. I became an undying cultivating the water law, and have been cultivating since I became a Universe Supreme Master. After I became a Universe Supreme Master, one fine day, while I was living a peaceful life on a certain planet, I was struck by a sudden thought. On this life planet, life required water to survive, so water was the origin of life. But the entire planet needed to rely on the heat of the stars to absorb energy for all life forms to grow. The water law and fire law. These are not as simple as how we have all used to comprehend. They were not as simple as 2 individual laws. Water and fire both involve the origin of life, the origin of all forms of life, and the origin of reproduction. Therefore, I have created my own studies, a new body of lost knowledge, water and fire origins. I have traversed the primal universe, and when the primal universe came to an end, I moved on to observing universe ocean and comprehended 2 reincarnation eras. Water and fire origins was getting more complete, and I believe that if I had been given enough time, I would have been able to attain an even higher level in order to transcend reincarnation. But I did not have enough time. I may have achieved a combat power that was at 10th tier as the top level, but still, I am not confident of achieving a breakthrough to transcend reincarnation. Water and Fire Origins was created with great efforts. After spending a long time, 3 reincarnation eras, I am most reluctant to see it disappear. My wish is that any later generations will be able to take on what I have comprehended and continue to pass down this legacy of mine. The 9 fireballs in the surroundings of void space are unique objects from Tilted Peak sector of the universe ocean. They are 9 iced crystals that have been transformed into 9 fireballs by my water and fire origins. They represented the peak of my accomplishment. Now that the 9 fireballs have become one, their might should not be spread to the outside world. Under this great continent, there is a pinnacle palace true treasure. Inside the palace, you will find all the treasures I have left behind, and you will also find a low to high level inheritance of the lost knowledge I have created. I truly hope that my descendants will not let my life's work, my legacy, be lost for good. On the scroll high up in the sky, upon seeing the information that was transmitted via the characters made out of fire snakes, Luo Feng took in a deep breath. 10th tier as the top. Water and Fire Origins. Indeed, every generation will give rise to at least one peerless figure, who is unparalleled in demeanor and talent, said Luo Feng, in awe. This Jie Fanzi actually possessed combat power at the 10th tier, as the top level. This would have been comparable to what Teacher Origin already achieved previously. He must be one of the greatest figures during his era. No wonder. No wonder he was so fixated on his legacy. It seems like his Water and Fire Origins was indeed a body of lost knowledge that he had created and was incomparably proud of. This must be why he was so reluctant to see his efforts go down the drain and his legacy discontinued. Of course, in terms of talent, Jie Fanzi was still no match for Teacher Origin. After all, Teacher Origin had already attained the 10th tier, as the top level, when he was still within the primal reincarnation era before being eternally suppressed. On the other hand, Jie Fanzi had taken a total of 3 full reincarnation eras to reach the 10th tier, as the top level. However, throughout the universe ocean, other than Teacher Origin and the ancestors of the 2 holy lands, the next strongest in line today were all great beings at the level of 9th tier, as the top. This showed how talented Jie Fanzi really had been. Water and Fire Origins, the origin of life. The origin of all forms of life and of reproduction. Even Luo Feng was touched when he learned all this. Previously, the laws that he had cultivated, whether gold, wood, water, fire, or earth, were the most fundamental laws. Furthermore, He had always cultivated them as individual laws. Never had it crossed his mind that something as simple as an individual set of laws could contain the mystery of the origin of life. If this body of lost knowledge was merely an ordinary kind of creation, then even if it were to be discontinued, there was no loss worth lamenting. But something as unique as water and fire origins, which far surpassed what other supreme masters had created. Such a body of lost knowledge was truly something worth being proud of. A peerless figure in demeanor and talent, Luo Feng lamented. Yet he was gone, just like that, without even achieving a breakthrough of a reincarnation era. Transcending reincarnation. Oh, transcending reincarnation. How difficult it truly is. Keep. With a random flick of his hand, Star Tower flew up right away. Following the guidance of Luo Feng's godly power, the 9 huge fireballs high up in space were quickly sent right into Star Tower. Rise. Luo Feng looked toward the continent at his side. The continent split apart, and a palace emerged from beneath. Sandstones separated into 2 sides, revealing a palace in its entirety. Luo Feng sent a trace of his godly power penetrating through this palace, and soon enough, he had made this palace true treasure recognize him as its master. The treasures inside. After this pinnacle palace true treasure had recognized Luo Feng as its master, Luo Feng could quickly learn how many treasures were inside. After sorting and summing up everything, he had a clearer picture of the treasures Jie Fanzi had left behind. What he had summed up dealt Luo Feng with a good shock. Although there were no supreme true treasures, this pile was still much more than what he had gained from killing Great Thunder Star Master, adding on the gains from sweeping through the miniature universe. There was a total of 32 pinnacle palace type and domain type true treasures. And a total of 91 ordinary pinnacle true treasures. Top-tier domain type true treasures were considered to be on this level. Ordinary top-tier true treasures, senior true treasures, and ordinary true treasures were very few. The total might have only added up to slightly more than 100. Perhaps these did not appeal much to Jie Fanzi, who was simply not interested in them. As for the large amount of various precious treasures, materials for refining true treasures, treasures for restoring godly bodies, and treasures for increasing the amount of life genes, there were many of all these, too. Not even counting the supreme true treasures, these are already riches much greater than the entire wealth of my human race. Luo Feng was awestruck. In fact, this was considered normal. The wealth of a race was mainly created by universe supreme masters. Supreme masters who were lone travelers, regardless of whether it was Jie Fanzi from eras ago, Sitting Mountain Guest, Shahu Island Leader, or several others of the current era, had no need to worry for any race. The treasures they obtained were theirs to keep, yet the treasures they had were in no way inferior to those owned by an entire race. Jie Fanzi's combat power was at the level of 10th tier as the top. During his era, he had once swept through the entire universe ocean with his great might. His only problem was that he was obsessed with the water and fire origins. He was very ambitious by nature. If he had put his heart into plundering, he would have gained even more treasures. But the amount of treasures he had was considered normal, as he had been collecting for the long period of 3 reincarnation eras. So many treasures. Therefore, I will be able to repair the final injury on the white wings of my Shawu wings. Luo Feng was happy when this realization dawned upon him. With a flip of his hand, a fist-sized, spherical crystal stone appeared in the middle of his palm. The spherical crystal stone stored a large amount of information, and all that information was what Jie Fanzi took great pride in, his water and fire origins. Let's take a look at this water and fire origins. The moment Luo Feng laid eyes on it, he was immersed. He was pleasantly surprised at what he saw. The knowledge of water and fire origins was so mysterious and magical that it qualified to be ranked within the core inheritance of the pulse of Duandong River. The pity was, Jie Fanzi had only managed to comprehend the fundamentals of the lost knowledge of water and fire origins. Yet even though the fundamentals were just built, the magical side of this lost knowledge could be subtly observed. According to what the lost knowledge of water and fire origins describes, Luo Feng said to himself. Reaching the peak of this place, with a single move of intention, and taking the 2 origins, water and fire, as the core, I can instantly develop a true universe. When there is a war, the surroundings of my body can instantly become a true miniature universe. Forcing the enemies into this miniature universe, there will be no way they can survive, right? Luo Feng had been reading it for half a month, and he sighed, shaking his head, what a shame. A peerless great being just died like that. If he'd had more time, he could have transcended incarnation and created another holy land. Unfortunately, that last step. He got stuck at the last step. It was almost impossible to transcend incarnation. Otherwise, there would have been more holy lands. Jie Fanzi only comprehended the most basic material of water and fire origins. He hadn't even fully comprehended it. If he had, he might have transcended incarnation already. If someone's able to comprehend further, he'll be incredible. If someone can fully comprehend the whole thing. Luo Feng could help but exclaim. It was a powerful and special technique that pointed to the origin. Actually, even turning from true gods, universe supreme masters, to high-level beings didn't involve universe origin mysteries like life reproduction. Jie Fanzi had tried to study techniques that were far beyond his level, so he had failed. He studied it for 3 universe eras and still failed. However, Jie Fanzi's technique offers a unique path. After I become a true god, this water and fire origins will be helpful to me on fire and water when I try to transcend incarnations. Since Luo Feng had obtained the inheritance from Duandong River, he knew exactly what he should do. He would become a true god following the godly power path. After becoming a true god, he would use all the 10 basic laws, gold, wood, water, fire, mud, light, thunder, wind, time, and space, to condense a void space. Water and fire origin could help a bit as well. Actually, starting from all the 10 basic laws was the most efficient way. It was easier to use all 10 basic laws. As for Jie Fanzi, he only used fire and water, so he had encountered too many obstacles and had finally died. Luo Feng had collected many crystal balls and valuables. At the same time, the mind in the virtual universe also told Primal Chaos City leader that happy surprise. Luo Feng, are you saying that Jie Fanzi alone had 32 pinnacle true treasure palaces? And he had 91 ordinary pinnacle true treasures? Primal Chaos City leader was astonished. We didn't even get that many true treasures from Thunderstorm Star. That's far too many. Jie Fanzi was at top tier level 10. Luo Feng exclaimed. He left those valuables because he wanted me to spread the inheritance. Undying fighters could already practice inheritance. As long as someone fully comprehended the water law and fire law, he could start comprehending water and fire origins. Based on the records, it was possible to reach the level of a limit universe supreme master. As for transcending incarnations, Jie Fanzi hadn't succeeded, so that task fell on the shoulders of future generations. Jie Fanzi left so many true treasures, so that future generations could continue his inheritance. We'll definitely help. There were only 20 universe masters in the human race. It was more than enough. However, there will be more and more universe masters in the human race, said Primal Chaos City leader. We need to think about the future as well. I'll leave all that to you, teacher. Luo Feng smiled. I'll start practicing now and adventuring in the 3 lands of extremis. I'll send those valuables back to the race shortly. A great being could only use a certain number of true treasures. Jie Fanzi had too many true treasures, so he could only leave them in the storage. Luo Feng had obtained many true treasures this time, so he would leave several for himself, giving all 4 of his godly bodies better weapons and armors. However, he alone couldn't use that many true treasures. He would rather leave them to his race, like Teacher Origin and Huge Axe Creator. I'll start practicing now. Luo Feng took a step forward and walked out of the green keepsake space. Then he started to tour the 3 lands of extremis by boat of mausoleum. Time passed. 1,000 years, 10,000 years, 100,000 years. Time passed silently, leaving no traces. During practice, a few thousand years was like a blink of an eye. Boat of mausoleum became a silver boat. Luo Feng took the silver boat to the lands of Extremis. He was well aware that he couldn't go too deep in the lands of Extremis, so he only ventured into the inner area. Sometimes, he would tour around at the periphery of the core ground, but he wouldn't go too deep. Luo Feng's chief intention was to practice rather than to adventure. Tilted Peak Sector was mysterious and variable. Universe Boat was a machine-type valuable, and there were billions of areas within it. There were still traces of an intact Universe Boat somewhere. But Flowing Level Mountain was like a maze. Luo Feng went back to the original universe once to distribute the true treasures during his travels. The 600,000th year after Luo Feng started to tour Universe Ocean in Flowing Level Mountain. The water stretched through time and space, and on a stone amid the water stood three beings. "It's getting more and more dangerous," a red rock life form roared. "A true treasure is about to be born. We'll see which one of us is more powerful after the true treasure is born. It also depends on our power." All three universe masters were looking forward to it. They were all nervous, and there was dimming light around them. Apparently, there was a domain true treasure covering the entire area. However, the domain could only cover a certain area. It couldn't cover the tumbling water. They couldn't tell in advance when the true treasures would be born. The water, which had been moving recklessly, suddenly started to move normally. The water started to gather and spin. It connected the sky and land, and there was a waterspout. "It's right there." All the universe masters burnt their godly power and put all their efforts. A white boat burst out of the waterspout, which astounded all three universe masters. "It's Milky Way Horde Leader," shouted a black creature with many wrinkles on his face. The rock great being and the double-faced, four-armed great being were both shocked, especially the double-faced, four-armed great being. He retreated into a palace true treasure and tried to run away. A white boat. Rumor was spread through the three lands of Extremis that a human universe master, who drove a white boat, had appeared in some places where true treasures were born and had seized the true treasures. The three lands of Extremis were enormous, and true treasures could be born anywhere, yet Luo Feng had seized true treasures dozens of times. Luo Feng was as talented at seizing valuables as 5 universe supreme masters combined. He was so efficient because of Boat of Mausoleum. He was able to enter some dangerous places and claim the true treasures when the great beings were still waiting outside. The black creature with wrinkles and the rock-life great being stood aside and glanced at the double-faced, four-armed being trying to flee. Poor Yu Lan. Yu Lan Master was a universe master from Purple Moon Holy Land. For the past 6,000 years, Milky Way Horde Leader had been journeying through the three lands of Extremis. He sometimes appeared in Flowing Level Mountain, sometimes in Universe Boat, and other times in Tilted Peak Sector. He always showed up with a great shock. If he met a universe master from Purple Moon Holy Land, he would capture them immediately. Nobody knew whether he captured them or killed them. In the 6,000 years after Luo Feng killed Pei Xing Master, he had captured 3 more universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land. Even though most universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land had returned to the Holy Land after the news, some universe masters were reluctant to retreat. Instead, they stayed out and simply tried to be careful. Yu Lan has been very careful, and he only showed up because a true treasure is about to be born. We didn't expect that Milky Way Horde Leader would have his eyes on that true treasure as well. Milky Way Horde Leader must have been in the waters, so they couldn't detect him. Now that he has emerged, it's too late. The black, wrinkled creature and the rock life both sighed. Everyone knew that Milky Way Horde Leader wouldn't attack Universe Masters if they didn't mess with him. Milky Way Horde Leader only targeted those from Purple Moon Holy Land, the Fire Origin race, and the Dragon Rock race. Those from the Fire Origin race and the Dragon Rock race had already hidden in the miniature universes. Only those from Purple Moon Holy Land still dared to come out. Stop fighting, Yu Lan Master. The white boat flew over, and a 9-story tower showed up and suddenly expanded. Yu Lan Master was trying to fly away from the abyss at the bottom of the tower. Star Tower started to suck it in. Yu Lan Master flew out of his true treasure palace and attempted to flee. Milky Way Horde Leader, Milky Way Horde Leader. Purple Moon Holy Land won't let you go. They never will. Luo Feng drove his star tower again, and tried to absorb Yulan Master, who had previously targeted the True Treasure Palace. No. Yulan Master tried to get out, but he was still being swallowed. He became smaller as he got closer to the bottom of Star Tower, and then was completely swallowed. A voice came from the white boat. 2. Sorry, I'm passing by, but I'll take the true treasure. The two universe masters standing at the top of the mountain were both humble. The white boat flew away. The white boat became black once it flew away. Even its shape changed. In the space of suppression of Star Tower, Yulan Master with 2 faces and 4 arms saw the 3 beings in the distance. The other 3 universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land saw Yulan and walked forward. Yulan. Why are you here? Yulan. How were you captured? A white-caped being appeared in the space of suppression. It was a young man with black hair. Milky Way Horde Leader. Luo Feng. All 4 universe masters, including Yulan, glared at him. The white-caped man shook his head and sighed. Don't look at me like that. It's not that I want to kill you. It's that your ancestor refuses to save you. Don't blame me. Luo Feng didn't kill any of the universe masters captured. He knew clearly that even if he killed them, there would be universe masters to be, who would become universe masters in no time. Purple Moon Holy Land was far younger than Eastern Emperor Holy Land and didn't have that many universe masters to be, but it could definitely have 8 to 10 more universe masters. So Purple Moon Holy Land wouldn't be affected at all. He figured he might as well just keep them as leverage against Purple Moon Holy Land. It's only a pair of wings, so it's only an ordinary true treasure to Purple Moon Holy Land. I can't believe your ancestor isn't even willing to trade it for 4 universe masters. Luo Feng shook his head and exclaimed. He's ruthless, too ruthless. He doesn't even care about you. All 4 universe masters were enraged. Milky Way Horde Leader, said North Chu Master, who was the most powerful out of the 4 captured. Don't waste your energy and time. Purple Moon Ancestor is our ancestor, so nobody dares to disobey his orders. He already knows you want that pair of wings, so no matter how many universe masters you capture, you won't be able to trade us for that pair of wings. Don't even think about it, Luo Feng. Yulan Master yelled. Our ancestor has already told us to go back to the Holy Land if we can't guarantee survival. We didn't do so, which is why he doesn't care about our lives. You want your wings? Impossible. Luo Feng shook his head and sighed. It's not necessary. It's just a pair of wings, and it's not going to help much with my power. 4 universe masters aren't enough for 1 pair of ordinary true treasure wing. That's not an ordinary true treasure, yelled Yulan instead. It's a component of an exceptional true treasure from the ancient civilization. Luo Feng sighed. Then you can just wait here. Luo Feng then disappeared. The 4 universe masters from Purple Moon Holy Land exchanged glances. They looked around the desert space, disappointed, angry yet helpless. Luo Feng kept touring the 3 lands of extremists in Boat of Mausoleum. He had no idea what to do. The last pair of Shawu wings. Luo Feng exclaimed. It's almost impossible to get them. Based on what the captured universe masters had said, when he was sensing the wings outside Purple Moon Holy Land, a universe knight in Purple Moon Holy Land with wings also sensed that his wing was quivering. He was staying in an independent space of the Purple Moon Holy Land. Besides, the sensing distance was very large, possibly 100 million light years. That universe knight was dazed. If he could sense it from such a distance, it must have been an exceptional true treasure, which he, as a knight, was not qualified to be a part of. He immediately reported it to his teacher, Feng Hao Master. Feng Hao Master started to raise questions and asked many universe masters about who had felt the sensing lately. After all, they all belonged to the same power, so it was a win-win. However, he didn't find anyone with another component. Purple Moon Holy Land was the master of the Holy Land, so he knew everything that happened in the Holy Universe. Naturally, he knew about the wing, as well. He didn't care about it that much at first. Afterward, some great beings in the Holy Land traded away some ordinary true treasures using some secret techniques with those in Universe Ocean. With everything combined, and after Purple Moon Ancestor did some further research, he had a much better grasp of the whole picture. First off, Peishing Master had been killed by Luo Feng. However, Luo Feng had been in Universe Boat before, but Peishing Master was in Tilted Peak Sector. They were very far from each other. However, as soon as Luo Feng killed Great Thunderstar Tower, he must have headed to Tilted Peak Sector at the fastest speed possible and killed Peishing Master. Strangely, there were quite a few Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land in both Tilted Peak Sector and Flowing Level Mountain, and many of them had powerful true treasures. Why would Luo Feng go and kill a new Universe Master, Peishing Master? The time and the choice of victim both indicated that Luo Feng had been targeting Peishing Master. Peishing Master happened to have 2 pairs of wings. Second, the sensation had happened several hundred years after Peishing Master died, and it was around the time Luo Feng left Tilted Peak Sector. Third, some great beings from Universe Ocean tried to get some ordinary true treasures out of the Holy Land, which might be from the Hong Alliance. Fourth, Luo Feng indeed had true treasure wings. When he had first risen in the original universe, he had only had 1 pair. He had then obtained another pair. Some great beings had even seen Luo Feng with 3 pairs of wings, which meant he had acquired at least 2 pairs. Purple Moon Ancestor could tell that Luo Feng had his eyes on that pair of wings. And judging by the sensation, Purple Moon Ancestor could also tell how extraordinary that wing true treasure was. Tell Luo Feng to stop wasting his time and energies. That pair of wings will stay in Purple Moon Holy Land forever, and he'll never get it. Purple Moon Holy Land immediately told an avatar of a captured Universe Master, after confirming Luo Feng's intention. Luo Feng was deeply upset. Incredible. Purple Moon Holy Land had found out about it. Actually, it was understandable. Luo Feng knew that the Hong Alliance had proceeded discreetly. However, they had still left some traces, and so had he. Purple Moon Ancestor had learned of his intentions. Luo Feng started to do it in a blatant way. He started to capture Universe Masters. I'll keep capturing Universe Masters, and threatening you with the lives of your Universe Masters. Will you be willing to trade them? Even though Universe Masters don't dare to resist Purple Moon Ancestor, given his prestige, they'll be upset. That means the unity within Purple Moon Holy Land won't be as strong anymore. I'll keep doing it. Even if I get the last pair of wings, I can't fully utilize it. After all, I haven't even fully comprehended the 3rd level of engravings on Shawu wings. Luo Feng didn't need to rush it. It was going to be a long fight between him and Purple Moon Holy Land. Time passed. Luo Feng journeyed in the 3 lands of Extremis. 90% of the Universe Masters from Purple Moon Holy Land went back to the Holy Land after learning that 6 Universe Masters had been captured. Those who stayed out were very stubborn. They had eternal lives, and they had lived for so long that they weren't afraid of death. The pressure from Luo Feng only exhilarated them. In a remote area of Universe Ocean where no great beings had been before, a human shape larger than a miniature universe lay there, traveling millions of times faster than light speed. The chaos air gleamed under the friction coming from the high speed, leaving a long streak of light in the space. It kept marching toward the original universe. 10 years, 100 years, 1,000 years, 10,000 years. 100,000 years, a million years. Luo Feng had been traveling in Universe Boat for more than 8 million years when the giant object, which had maintained a speed that no Universe Supreme Masters could ever reach, finally entered the area where there were powers from Universe Ocean. 8 million years was a long time for ordinary life forms. However, for great beings, 8 million years was only a blink of an eye. To Luo Feng, who had only lived for less than 200,000 years, not counting time acceleration, the 8 million years was a very crucial period for him, and it was the longest period of his life. He had been practicing in the space of inheritance for the past 8 million years, which was actually 8 million eras. Presently, he was still touring in the inner area of Universe Boat. At the same time, in a remote area of Universe Ocean, a being was teleporting itself. I haven't been to Flowing Level Mountain for a long time, so I'll go there now. Demon Beast Ancestor was moving forward relaxedly. He was the enemy of both Space Beast Ancestor and the two ancestors of the demon race. The United Forces Alliance and the human team were fighting now, and the human team was at a slight advantage, which pleased Demon Beast Ancestor. A terrifying streak of light flashed beside him. Under that horrifying speed, the shock waves stemming from the chaos air spread to Demon Beast Ancestor, who was still in the distance. Demon Beast Ancestor rolled over tens of billions of kilometers away. Demon Beast Ancestor opened his mouth wide with blood coming out. His body was covered with scales, and it was solid. Dark, golden blood flowed on the scales, and it looked at the golden flowing light in shock. This. He hadn't expected that only that shock wave could injure him, a Universe Supreme Master. If he had been hit directly, he would have died. What is that? What kind of terrifying being is that? Demon Beast Ancestor was bewildered. He roamed Universe Boat, and although he was at a disadvantage when fighting Dream Demon Ancestor, Shock Demon Ancestor, and Space Beast, because he didn't have Supreme True Treasure, he could still survive the attacks. He could have even put up a fight against Teacher Origin. However, that gigantic flying object terrified him and made him desperate. They were definitely not at the same level, and if he was hit by that human shape, he would be killed. A chance. An opportunity. A huge opportunity. Demon Beast Ancestor was excited. Any incredible incident might spell a chance, and based on what had happened, that gigantic flying object had an exceptional opportunity, and supreme true treasures were nothing compared to that. I need to seize that chance. Inheritance, great beings, or valuables, I need to seize it. Only after seizing that can I suppress the two idiots from the demon race and old beast god. I'll then rule the demon race and Space Beast Alliance. I will be the one true ancestor of the demon beasts. Demon Beast Ancestor was overjoyed, and he started to teleport. He teleported 3 times and arrived beside the giant flying object. It resisted the shock waves. Compared to that giant object, Demon Beast Ancestor was like an earthworm looking at a star. This video will end here.